The next topic I was hoping to ask you about, which is social media. Is that feeding that desire to want and need more and things you don't have? Is social media playing a big part in the mental health concerns?
There's no doubt that in some areas social media is impacting young people's mental health. So particularly around people's sort of image of themselves and their sort of what we call their body image. In terms of people, how they value themselves, there's often this comparison that comes up, I don't have this and I'm not as good as that person and so forth. So young people internalise a lot of that. And in terms of sort of cyberbullying, that's pretty harsh, exclusion, that really impacts young people. So that does have an effect, and they're all bad effects. But at the same time, social media does enable young people to connect and learn information and everything else. So, I think the government's recently sort of said, we should be banning social media for people under a certain age and so forth. And that's a pretty blunt response for a very vexing sort of challenge. And a recent review sort of showed that about half of young people found social media, they identified social media as very beneficial, about 30% kind of neither good nor bad, about 20% harmful. So, I think it's more about trying to, social media's here, it's not going to go away. It's more about trying to teach young people how to use social media wisely. It is about getting young people to sort of have more moderation and balance in their lives. So I think we've gone from, no social media of young people to people spending endless hours on social media. And for a lot of young people who've got sort of problematic internet use, that there's just don't have a balance. We've got to teach young people sort of how to get that moderation. And we've also got to teach parents how to do it too. Like that's going to be the key. It's sort of like, and we've got to be starting early. By the time a child's 13 and entrenched in social media, the horse is bolted. Like we need to be talking to parents like when the kid's like 2 and sort of about how you're going to manage this.
If you had a few tips for parents about their kids when they begin on social media, maybe what age, maybe the amount of social media they use, what would be some tips for parents?
Going back to first principles, this is a tip for any potentially risky or problematic behaviour in young people. Once they're doing it, it's very hard to take it back. So it's whether you let them go out to the city clubbing and whatever it might be. Well, once they're doing it, it's very hard to sort of say you can't do it. So, I think as a general rule, you're wanting to ensure that the young people are sort of, your children are sort of socially interacting with the family. I see families where people get their meals and go up to the bedroom and eat their meals in front of a screen, talking to friends or watching, Instagram or something as they have by themselves. Clearly that's really harmful, and doesn't matter whether the child's 10 or whether they're 16, really harmful. So, I think it's about parents kind of setting expectations and rules within the family early on and maintaining those behaviours through adolescence. You continue to have meals together. You continue to do things together. You limit the time that young people are on social media and you continue to sort of revisit those rules and such. I think sort of in terms of social media, you ask what age, try to keep them off it for as long as you can. But you need to be having conversations with your kids at the same time. Once they start using it, you need to be really monitoring it closely. We've led another study, the Australian Child Maltreatment Study, where we looked at online victimisation of young people. So this is sort of sharing of non-consensual sharing of images. It's on sexual solicitation by adults. By about 13 years of age, a quarter of kids have experienced these things. So this is, you sort of think, my child will be okay. No, they won't. They won't. You parents really need to be sort of looking at sort of what their children look at, who's talking to them and such. And those behaviours, this online sexual victimization, increase at 14, 15 years of age, but it's just that really young age. I think actually those kids don't have a hope in hell of sort of protecting themselves. They are so vulnerable, they're so young. So I think parents really need to be very mindful of what their kids are accessing, what they're doing online.
Yeah, and I guess as well as having those conversations with their kids, teaching them things, it's also, showing them how to behave on social media and not using it too much themselves. Is that
Yeah.
right?
It's very much about what parents model. You sort of, I think in a lot of families, social media has become a de facto childcare option, and you never become a de facto childcare option. I really worry when I see 2-year-olds being given sort of iPads to keep them quiet whilst parents are doing things. And I say this acknowledging the challenges. My children now adults. I didn't have this. I wasn't faced with this problem, but I talk to a lot of families who are. But I do see some families who really successfully negotiate this, and I think they're just, their parents are giving a lot of thought as to how to keep their children occupied without using screens and so forth. Yes, it does take more effort. Yes, it does take more time, but I think in the long run it's worth it.